Welcome to the Rural Dispatch, the podcast delivering stories from rural America. I'm your host, Allie Behrens. Headquartered in rural Iowa, I help run a nationwide livestock transportation company, and I'm here to bring you stories from the people who help shape this industry and our rural communities. Whether you're a trucker, livestock producer, or rural entrepreneur, this show is for you. Each week, we explore the realities of rural business life, from the highways to the fields and everything in between. So buckle up and let's dive into today's episode. All right, today I've got my favorite recurring guest with me, Smoke. We're going to dive into different types of livestock trailers and trucks. But first, let's start with some current events. So the EPA announced, last week technically, a big deregulatory action that will take place over the next year. So we don't really know what that means, but
yeah, I don't have a clue what that's going to mean.
My hope when I read it, Taylor and Martin stopped selling any deleted trucks. So now we have no place to go with selling our used equipment.
Well, it's not that we don't have no place to go with them. That's just the only thing we've ever done because you can't trade them in. So it's just never been a question. For years and years and years, we personally have always just taken our trucks to Taylor and Martin.
And we're done with it. Now we're trying to sell things privately, and it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I'm not cut out for selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I can tell you that.
If anybody's looking for a truck.
But it is shocking. I feel like I have that truck reasonably priced, and I have had one person reach out to me, and they asked me what kind of turbo it had on it. And that is the only response that I have gotten on that listing. And I'm like, yeah. So I did reach out to an auction company. I sent them an email Friday. I'm like, I'm not cut out for selling stuff on my own.
This is not worth our time.
No, I'm just reach out to somebody that can get it gone and go on about my day.
Happily pay the commission.
Yeah, pretty much.
What else?
We don't really know much about it. I mean, we kind of wait for somebody to come out and tell us, this is what it means.
Well, this is all they've said so far. They haven't actually gotten into, there's 31 regulations that they are.
Yeah, well, they're still
back.
Politics. They still suck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, essentially, we're just waiting for the day that somebody tell us, okay, you are not going to get in trouble for having altered emissions on your truck and no more DEF. And we're going to be like, fuck yeah, party on, Wayne.
I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Party on, Garth. Well, never know.
You never know.
You also didn't think I'd marry you someday.
It's still to be determined.
In other news, the big news today was Simple Pack in Yankton, South Dakota, closing the doors. That was huge news in the ag industry today with that kill cow plant closing down. I just think there's a lot of things that probably factor into that. Well, that place was old. It was a dump.
You've been there, I take it?
Yeah. I suppose it was just a matter of time. I haven't been there myself in I don't know how many years, but I suppose it could use updating. But also, it's no huge shock to me that they closed it down because American Foods is getting ready to open their new kill cow plant down by St. Louis. And I just read somewhere that was an $800 million plant that they built. I mean, you'll never know the reasons, but you can only assume they're going to restructure where they send all these sale barns. You know, they probably don't need Gibbon, Yankton, Long Prairie, Green Bay. Them are all fairly close proximity. One of them probably had to go. And that's just logistically only makes sense.
Right.
For them to not have all them plants. And with the new one coming open, I would say within the next month, I think they're talking.
Well, and you would think that would, what's the word I'm looking for? Be
economical.
Yeah, economical. I was at a meeting the other night and they showed a slide on packer margins. Packer margins are really slimming down. So I think you'll probably see more of that happening, which we've already seen them cut kill.
Right. You've seen cut kill and all speculation, obviously, but it would not be a huge shocker to see some of these older plants go by the wayside. I mean, they're just not efficient. I mean, it would take a lot of money and updating, I would assume, to just start being efficient again, really.
Oh, and I'm sure another factor is finding people to work in those plants. Obviously, the newer ones are going to have more technology that makes these people's jobs a little bit easier.
Well, now that ICE has come around and cleaning house a little bit, I suppose running a little low on staff.
I suppose. Well, this is a good segue. It's kind of like truckers. Finding good help is a little tough, but everybody wants to drive something shiny and new. And people are very opinionated on their brands.
Well, they are. You know, I remember when I first started when I was 18, the first truck my dad stuck me in was a 98 Peterbilt 379. I drove that my senior year of high school. And then after I graduated, he bought me a W900. And that thing was I don't even know what year it was. 03, I think. Somewhere right around there. And I drove that for a year, and then I remember I got home one week, and there sat a new Freightliner Classic. I remember I walk in the office, I go, "Whose is that?" He goes, "It's yours." And I was like, "Ain't mine." He's like, "Fuck it ain't." I'm like, "Oh, fuck, okay." So I did not want to drive that Freightliner, but I did. I jumped in and ended up loving it. That is when, Jesus, Cimarron trailers were a thing too. So I drove that brand new truck. I drove it out to Grand Island, picked up a brand new Cimarron trailer, went to Texas, loaded feeder pigs. So I was driving around in a Freightliner, pulling a Cimarron with the sliding back end gate, just out there not looking very cool at all. But now you have, I would say, the majority of livestock haulers right now are probably Peterbilt and Kenworth. I would guess, are probably the two dominant brands. I mean, you see them all out there, I guess. But I'm going to guess it's probably a pride thing. Most bull haulers, livestock haulers, are either in a Peterbilt or a Kenworth. But the smart ones are driving around, get 6.5 miles a gallon. I'll tell you, and this is definitely a pride thing, the new Peterbilt 589s, they have the same cabs as the 567s and the 579s. And they are so comfortable to drive. People don't even know it. They just think they look dumb. And they do. I mean, they're nothing sweet to look at. But man, you get behind the wheel of that thing and it is so comfortable in them cabs. And they're just huge in there. I mean, you don't got to turn sideways, get between the seats. Most truckers, they're big dudes, typically.
Yeah. I saw a statistic the other day. 69% of drivers are obese.
Oh.
Of which 11% have diabetes. 30% have hypertension, and 20% develop heart disease. Only 15% of truck drivers regularly exercise.
I mean, that makes sense. We're just out there just turning and burning miles and burning heaters.
25% of drivers smoke.
Which is shocking. I thought it would be more than that. Well, they probably used to smoke. Now they're vaping.
They vape.
Yeah.
Zen. There's so many more options
all the
now.
shit. I mean, there's way more to it than burning cowboy killers and Marlboro Reds these days. That and chewing. Man, I used to love chewing.
Ugh.
That is a pretty nasty habit.
Disgusting.
We got a new 579 that just came in, and
the guy that's going to drive that doesn't really care about optics so much, though.
Well, he just turned 60, and just cool is not his thing anymore. He'd just soon be comfortable, and that man does a lot of trucking. He would just soon be comfortable for the months that he's gone. I mean, them things are roomy on the inside. I mean, I didn't order anything special. I mean, it's an aerodynamic. It's a 579, so it's not going to be anything special. And that thing still costs way more than I had anticipated. I was like, oh, he got done speccing that out. I was like, duh, okay. I remember the salesman, he's like, well, what were you thinking? I was like, I don't know, but not that.
That was a whole process in itself, though. I remember you came home and you go, did you know that you can get different colored seatbelts?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. No, I just figured they came in black.
Why do we do that?
Why? So now they claim these fleet companies, they're ordering their seatbelts, neon orange and neon green. That way these driver-facing cameras, they can clearly see if people are wearing their seatbelts or not. Yeah, that is right. I forgot about that.
Do you think that the livestock hauling industry is going that direction? Do you think we'll ever get there?
Nope, not a chance.
I hope not. I think everybody would quit before they let it happen.
There's still too many quote unquote good old boys out there that'll never. I mean, I had a hard time putting road facing cameras in.
Yeah.
And we just kind of did that for insurance. reasons. I couldn't even imagine having to tell my guys that we're putting driver-facing cameras in their truck. I could not morally do it. There is no way.
Tell me about your favorite truck. What's your favorite truck that you've ever driven?
Oh,
I ask you this a lot, and you have a different answer. Like when I use trucks for promo stuff, I'm like, which truck's your favorite? And it changes every time.
well, I would say the favorite truck that I drove would have been my red and white Peterbilt. That thing was an '06 379. I think I put 1 million miles on that thing before I ordered my teal one.
So red, then teal.
Yeah. And I ordered that teal truck knowing that my trucking days were just about over.
Numbered.
Yeah, I ordered that knowing that was going to be my last truck. I don't even think I put 100,000 miles on that truck before I stuck a driver in it. But that red and white Peterbilt, me and that truck put some miles on together. A lot of trips to New York City with goats. I mean, I think I redid the stripes on it 2 or 3 times.
Well, I had a model of that truck made for you a couple years back, and I kept trying to find pictures, and that truck changed over the years.
Yeah.
So we had to literally say, which version do you want?
Yeah, that was definitely if I had to take all my trucks back, it would be that one.
Okay, so you put 1 million miles on that truck. How many different trailers did you pull? What's the lifespan of a trailer versus a truck?
Okay, well, that's actually a really good question. You know, around here, we typically keep a trailer 6 or 7 years, and then we trade it in. I mean, a truck, I feel like a truck is here minimum of 10 years. I just feel like you keep trucks
Longer
than you keep trailers.
Well, I suppose because livestock are hard on shit.
Yeah, so are drivers.
Well...
But I mean, I do feel like it is random and maybe it's in my head, but I do not feel like the aluminum holds up. Like, I feel like them floors wear out way faster. And them things are always in the welding shop. Even the new ones, they're just always getting something welded on, it seems like. Always.
I think it's just the quality of materials used.
Yeah, I do.
Because that's the same across the different brands. I mean, we really only run 2 brands.
We do. So we run Wilson and EB. I mean, you'll never beat a Wilson. Hands down. They're just hard to beat. I'll tell you a nice surprise. I was out of the office Friday and I didn't go in this weekend. And I walked in today and found a brand new Wilson coat and a couple new hats sitting there. And I was like, my man, he knows.
I will say Wilson salesmen get out in the country probably the most.
Yep.
I mean, we've got a couple Timpty grain trailers. You know, you see those guys once in a great while.
But we do. We, both of our salesmen, EB and Wilson, they're both really good guys. And, you know, another thing is some guys like pulling an EB, some guys like pulling a Wilson. So they kind of get what they want sometimes.
Sometimes they just, you get what you get.
Yeah.
And if you're going to throw a fit, don't do it to my face.
You're not going to like it. We're missing one big player in the trailer game, and that's merit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a lot of merits out there also. We do not own any merits. There's no reason we don't. I mean, that is your 3 big players, Wilson, EB, Merritt, and I feel like they're all equally as good trailers. I mean, still, you'll never beat a Wilson. It's just, their gates are solid. It's just hard to beat Wilson. It really is.
Okay, so for someone who's buying their own equipment for the first time, what's your best advice?
If I had to talk to somebody that was getting ready to buy their first truck, the first thing I would tell them is do not buy something with DEF on it. Because that thing is going to nickel and dime you to death with sensors and dumb shit. You'll never keep it on the road long enough to make it work. So go for something older. But that stuff is more expensive. You know, like you get back in like the 04, 05, 06, 07s. I mean, they're just getting so much money for that older equipment. It goes down the road. So that's nice. Something
that I have heard you tell a lot of people is buy the truck you're in.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we've had multiple.
We have lost so many dang good drivers.
Yeah, because they bought their own truck, which, I mean, they should buy their own.
I mean, they still work for us, which is great.
Yep. So they just bought their own truck. Now they pull a trailer. But I mean, I've had multiple people have come to me and they said, well, I'm thinking about buying a truck and I'm looking at this fucking piece of shit down in Omaha that I don't know nothing about. And I'm just like, just come and talk to me. Like, well, just buy that truck you're driving. Oh, will you sell it to me? Well, I'd rather sell it to you than watch it sit in the corner of my shed, collect fucking dust.
Right.
And I always tell them, you know that truck. You've drove it since it's been brand new. You're the only person that's ever drove that truck. There's no reason you shouldn't buy it. I mean, you know the ins and outs of that entire truck. You know what we've done to it. You know its maintenance. There's no reason for you to not just buy that truck you're driving. And like I said, it's way better if they buy it than it sit in the corner of the shop and collect dust.
Usually that advice is solid and works out for them. There have been a couple times where they've bought a truck and then started having issues.
Yeah,
but
there definitely has been.
I mean, that's just luck of the draw too, I think. You get so many miles on a truck, you're gonna start having issues eventually.
Right. Yeah. And we've helped a couple of them buy them. Also, I mean, get them started. It's nice to see people succeed, especially if you can help them.
Yeah. I mean, we can
Along
afford
the
to
way.
do a little bridge loan till they can get the bank to,
Get on board.
yeah, make sure it pencils out, which we know it pencils out because you dispatch them. So
Right.
we know that they're going to be able to make the payment, but finding a good banker, I feel like we've touched on this before, whether it's livestock or trucks. If you don't have a banker that really understands what you're doing, it's tough.
Yeah. I don't know. I was talking to a guy today. These cattle markets, these cattle prices are just wild right now. I mean, you're going up and putting up a barn, costing you X amount, and then you got to spend X amount to fill it. The money it's taking to do anything these days is just crazy. I mean, getting some of these bankers on board, that's the toughest process about the whole thing.
It's tough. And most bankers are scared of cattle in the first place. So,
Which is why we got producers.
yeah, we do like them. I just had a guy the other night tell me he was going to probably make the switch to using producers financing just because he's had the same banker for a long time, but they get nervous.
Well, rightfully so.
Yeah, that's a tough spot. And like anything, when you don't fully understand something, you're more cautious.
Well, think about it. If you feed 2,000 head of cattle, and say you got, which this is low, but say you feed 2,000 head of cattle and you got $2,500 a piece in those things. That's $5 million. The worst that could happen to us is we just go broke. The worst that can happen to the bank is they're out $5 million. So really, they're the ones taking the risk. If you ask me, I mean, I always say that.
They absolutely are.
I always say that. What's worse going to happen? You're going to go broke? Yeah, it's going to suck, but...
Been there before.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Was kind of hoping to not go back, but
it turned out fine the first time.
But if it were to happen...
The second time.
Yeah.
That is something your dad used to say.
His famous line was always, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter what it was. It's like, well, really? Well, will it be fine? Because it sure don't feel like it. All right, now it don't anyway. He was the most laxed man, but I tell you what, you got him mad. He was fucking mad.
Yeah, oh God, I still remember the first time he yelled at me.
Being his banker?
Yes. He came in guns blazing, wanting his interest rate lowered. And I was so taken off guard. It's like, man, Jeff, all you had to do was ask nicely. You didn't have to really come at me like that.
Well, that's how we get our point across. We get stern.
Oh, yeah. You do.
Usually works.
Yeah, I kind of just ignore it anymore.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
No, you don't. You wait an hour and then you send me a text.
I can't get fired up because then we're just in a screaming match and that doesn't get anybody anywhere.
And then it starts all over again because then I don't respond to your text. So then you're mad all over again.
Yep.
It's just a revolving circle.
What was the yellow truck when we first started dating?
Oh, that was my dad's.
That was your dad's. Wasn't around for very long.
Yeah, it was just another truck that ended up at the auction. But my dad drove a canary yellow Freightliner Coronado, and he loved that truck.
Do you think Freightliner was his preferred
I do.
truck brand?
Yep.
Because we have now a cab over, a Freightliner. That was his...
Well, one of his first trucks.
Yeah. And you just bought a old...
Slat side, Wilson slat side. 79.
Which is pretty cool.
Yep. Found it in some guy's grove. Actually, well, they were traders from around the Carroll area here. And grandkid, who's my age, they were cleaning up the grove and pulled it out of the grove and called a good friend of ours. And he called me and he said, hey, I got a phone call about something. And he said, I don't really need it, but I think you probably do. I was like, hell yeah. So pack a cooler one afternoon, drive over, look at it. So I bought it, paid him cash for it, went back a couple days later with the truck to pick it up. I mean, besides the tires were flat, I hooked the airlines up, that sumbitch aired up, and I drove it home on 8 flat tires. But
it made it home.
But it made it home, and the blinkers and brake lights still worked.
Which is just crazy.
He said they parked that thing in the Grove, and what did he say? 01 or 02. They parked that thing in the Grove.
It wasn't even anything wrong with the trailer, was it? It was the truck.
Yeah, he said he was coming home one day, and he had a water leak on his truck, and he just said, fuck it, and he just parked that whole truck and trailer in the Grove and never looked back. He said, I was sick of trucking anyway, so I just parked the whole thing in the Grove. Never looked back. So that was pretty cool.
What is the plan for it? I mean, that's everybody's big question is what are you going to do with that?
I don't know. I mean, I was kind of hoping we'd get it in the shop by now, and just nothing. We need to take it down, get the outside washed. We always take all our stuff to Randy's Diesel in Carroll. They got a really good truck wash. My brother-in-law runs it, my sister's husband, and they are really good. They got a brush over there, and I don't know where he gets his soap and everything, but man, they do good. So, I mean, I was just kind of hoping, take it in town, get the outside clean, get 8 tires on it that hold air. I mean, that would be nice. That would be a decent start. Other than that, I mean, I don't really have a plan. I really kind of want to take that cab over, get a paint job on it this year and stuff, but it's just not going to be in the cards this year. We're putting a new deck on the back of our house this year that I think we are going over budget on that probably.
Well, I could have told you that was going to happen.
So
if anybody doesn't know Smoke, he likes really nice things.
Yeah, well, I feel like I work hard for my money, so I would like nice things.
You absolutely deserve nice things, but don't complain when things are over budget.
Now I'm sitting here on this deck thinking, this sumbitch is kind of getting the job done.
Well, technically, yes.
No, it'll be nice.
There's always room for improvement.
Yeah. So I don't know what the plan is with the slat side. I mean, there really is no plan. Like I said, I was hoping to maybe give that cab over a makeover. And I mean, I'm not a show guy, so I wouldn't take it to any shows or anything. There is no plan. I just thought it'd be cool.
This is a perfect case of boys and their toys.
Yeah.
Gonna have it. What is your preference on buying equipment?
I mean, anymore, we just buy new, I guess.
It's just easier.
Yeah.
I mean, we've gotten a lemon once or twice, but for the most part, you buy a new truck, they run for a while.
Them DEF trucks, they run fine for the first, I don't even know, 150 or 200,000 miles. Then it's always an issue. But the last couple ones, they've all been injector issues in them X15s. And if Cummins would put injectors in right away, but they have to fix this and they fix that and they fix this. They have to run this test and that test. And it's got to break down 7 more times before they will fix what is actually the problem. And it just costs you so much time and money that, I don't know. I mean, it's nice that they run the way they're supposed to once they finally put injectors, but then they started not even putting new injectors in. They send the injectors off and they retip them, which I mean is getting the job done. But on the other hand, they also don't have replacements just sitting at Cummins. We go to Cummins in Omaha quite a bit. They treat us pretty well, I feel like. And that last time I was like, why do we just not have replacement injectors sitting here? I mean, they just won't let us. That is stupid. Just drives me nuts. God.
You did buy a used truck recently, like a year or two ago.
We did. So we bought this Peterbilt 579, had an X15 in it. It was an 18. And we ran that thing for 3 or 4 months and we ended up cracking the block in it. And it was deleted when we bought it. So it happened out in western Colorado, out by Grand Junction, Colorado. So we ended up bringing it back to Carroll. We brought it to Randy's and we found a block and anyway, long story short, should have dropped a new crate motor in it, but we ended up not, and overhauling it, finding a block, and that thing made it 75,000 miles and we ended up overhauling it again. Come to find out, I did not know this. That thing had a 500 in it. And I was always under the impression that the higher horsepower was just a ECM setting. Just go in, change it from a 500 to a 550 or a 575 or whatever. Come to find out, there's a difference between the 500 and the 565. It's got all different components, on the inside. It's got bigger injectors. It's got a bigger oil pump. It's got a bigger turbo. It's got a bigger this. It's got a bigger that. It's like, that makes sense now that I think about it, but it never crossed my mind before. So we overhaul this thing again. And this time we put a 565 kit back in it versus the 500. Oh, we're back off and running. We'll see what this 75,000 miles brings us, I guess. That's disheartening. You overpay for a used truck to begin with. That whole truck's just been a mess. That truck's going to be around a while.
Yeah.
I think it's got some paying off to do.
Well, that just goes to show that you can do this for a really long time and still not know everything.
That's right. You can know a lot, but you'll never know it all. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, well, there you have it. Thanks for all your insights.
Keep on keeping on.
Just a reminder that we are giving away a hat through the end of March. So if you share the podcast and tag us or leave a review on Apple Podcasts, we'll throw your name in just as a thank you.
I would like, if there is any farmer cattle feeders out there, I would like some people's opinions on this cattle market. Because, am I the only one out here that just thinks what these things are costing is unbelievable?
Well, I'm sure you're not. But let's see what's the best way to do that. Just message us on Facebook or Instagram. DM us.
I'd just kind of like some people's opinions.
All right. I'll pass the word along.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right.
Over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Rural Dispatch. I hope you found something valuable to take back to your own operation. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. You can keep up with me between episodes on socials at Barons & Co., or join our email list on our website to get new episodes delivered straight to your inbox every Wednesday. Until next time, keep those wheels turning. We'll talk soon.